And I now give the floor to Algeria.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At the outset, I'd like to thank Mr. Miroshnik and Mr. Grigoriev for their briefings. I also listened carefully to Mr. Zoyev. Mr. Chair, Algeria continues to express its deep concern over the persistent escalation around the war in Ukraine. This escalation is unfortunately causing the loss of innocent civilian lives, injuries, displacement, and the destruction of critical civilian infrastructure in both Ukraine and Russia. Every day is regrettably another day of violence, of destruction, another day when the only sound we hear is the one of war, when we are all calling for peace. From the very beginning, Algeria has always called on the parties to strictly abide by their obligations under international law, including international humanitarian law. Targeting civilians and civilian infrastructure is prohibited by international humanitarian law and should be avoided under any circumstances. Algeria also repeatedly called on the parties to exert calm and restraint, favor de-escalation over escalation, give a chance to dialogue over violence, and choose diplomacy over confrontation. Against this backdrop, I'd like to make the following points. First, we reiterate our call to both parties to end the hostilities, leaving no room for further escalation or confrontation. The rules and principles of international law, including IHL, should be upheld. Second, the suffering of civilians need to be alleviated as soon as possible without any distinction or discrimination. Everyone has the right to live in peace and prosperity. 3, inclusive and constructive dialogue and diplomacy should be given a real chance to deliver. This conflict can only be resolved through genuine negotiations away from polarization. 4, a just and lasting peace needs to be built on the purposes and principles of the UN Charter. The legitimate security concern of both parties should also be taken into consideration. Finally, Mr. Chair, the international community needs to double its effort toward creating favorable conditions for such a dialogue and promoting a peaceful political solution to swiftly end this war and focus on prosperous future in the region. I thank you.
I thank Algeria.